Okay, so I'm gonna do today Perik Tet, the whole Perik Tet. This is Tet Tevet and Yud Tevet together. So we pretty much learned Perik Tet from beginning to end amongst these 2 days. So before I get into Perik Tet, we finished learning about the animal soul, and before that we learned about the godly soul. So just a small summary. We're coming to the Tanya is coming to teach us how the Torah is very close to us. So in order to understand that, the Tanya opens up with a contradiction. One place tells us that we're supposed to view ourselves like we're Rishayim. The other source tells us we're not allowed to view ourselves like Rishayim. So it's a contradiction. To understand how to settle this contradiction, so we need to understand the difference and the different levels of tzaddikim, benonim, and Rishayim. So to have a real clear understanding about the tzaddikim, benonim, and Rishayim, so we need to learn about the two souls. So we learned first about the godly soul. We learned about its source, where it comes from. It comes from the supernal wisdom of Hashem. And the only way that we are able of connecting back to the supernal wisdom of Hashem is by us connecting to tzaddikim. So that already makes us more elevated, more powerful. We're connecting to a higher level of holiness just by connecting to tzaddikim by following their guidance. And we learned about how it functions, how it works. That by contemplating on the greatness of Hashem, that arouses love and fear towards Hashem. And with that love and fear, we go and do the will of Hashem by learning Torah and keeping mitzvah. So what that does is that actually elevates our soul to a higher level, being that Torah and mitzvahs are on a higher level than the godly soul. So therefore, we're getting empowered and we're being raised to a higher level by learning Torah and mitzvahs through that love and fear that we arouse by contemplating about the greatness of Hashem. And especially learning Torah. When you learn Torah, you have this unique bond, this special bond. The word in Tanya that there's no bond more wonderful than this. The Torah, which is Hashem, becomes a part of you, and it's literally food for the soul. It gives you strength more than any mitzvah can. So then we learn about the animal soul. We learn first about the function of the animal soul, how it works. We learn about how when you think about worldly things, you connect to them, and how that affects you, and that it comes from the animal soul comes from klipas noga. Noga is an intermediate between the three klipas, atmeos that are pure evil, and the holy side. So therefore, you can interact with things of this world that are connected to the other side, that are outside, they're forbidden for you to connect to. So you're eating non-kosher food, for instance. So you're drawing down your animal soul to a place of pure tumah. But if you eat things that you're allowed to eat, so then you're elevating it up to holiness. So that's the effect that we can have on our animal soul. So now we reached Perek Tet, which we learn about how the animal soul, the location. We learn about the location of the animal soul and of the godly soul. So the animal soul is located in the left chamber of the heart, and from there, that's where all of our emotions, our desires, all our pleasures, they come from. You're lazy, it comes from the left chamber of your heart. All the animal desires that we have, they come from there. And from there, they travel and try getting into our minds. They try telling us why we should live lives like this. They make it logical. They justify it. Our godly soul is located in our brains. So it also goes into our heart. However, it goes into the right chamber of the heart, which is more elevated. There's less blood in that part of the heart, they say. It's brought down. And that's where you will feel all your emotions when it comes to godly stuff. Enjoying to daven, learn all these Shabbosim, Yom Tov, all that you're feeling, it comes from the right chamber of the heart. It's a different place entirely. I mean, it's a heart, but it's a different part of the heart. So this actually teaches us something very important. They say to follow your heart. following your heart would normally be following the left chamber of the heart, not necessarily the right chamber, because the right chamber is aroused based on the mind. It's your mind that's creating the emotions in your heart. So you can't actually follow your heart when in reference to the godly soul. So following your heart is another way of saying follow your animal soul, which is not ideal. We want to follow our mind. We want to have mind over heart. That's something that we learn about in teachings of Hasidus. Anyways, getting back on topic, back to the Tanya. So now, the fact that they each go into each other. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention. You need to be very careful when the emotions in you are taking over your mind. So you need to know that you can't always rely on your mind. You can be biased about things and you'll see justification to why you should do animal things. You'll find logical reason to it because that is what the animal soul wants you to think. He wants you to think that logically this is the right thing to do. But it's not. It's coming from the animal soul, the animal part of your heart. It's not the right thing to do. It's selfish. It's wrong. Therefore, it's actually very important to actually get guidance from others because many times we're biased and we can't see things clearly. But someone else who's not in your situation can have a clearer take on the matter. Anyways, so now the animal soul and the godly soul, they're at war with each other. The animal soul is not happy that the godly soul gives you emotions towards godliness. And nor is the animal soul happy, nor is the godly soul happy that the animal soul is giving you thoughts that justify animal desires. So it's not like a person can actually live with these ideas of being someone in between. It's justified that I go daven, I go learn, and then I follow my heart and do different desiring things, and then afterwards I'll go back to living a holy life. The whole back and forth, no, your soul, none of your souls are satisfied with that. Your animal soul wants all the way material life. Drop the davening, drop the learning, drop everything you're doing spiritually speaking, drop everything you're doing for Hashem. Doesn't matter what it is. And the godly soul is the contrary. Drop all the material stuff. Drop all the desires. Stop being selfish. That is how we are built. We're built in a way where we're not satisfied living both these worlds. I'm not telling you drop everything right now. But just know that it's not something that you like. We do need to associate with the fact these are things that we do and we don't like to do it. Just tell yourself, I don't like it. Don't tell yourself, I'm not going to do it anymore. That's got to be a bit realistic. Later on in Tanya, we'll learn. Actually, next parak, next two prakim. Well, we'll learn later on about how that works, about how we actually do fall to these things, but doesn't mean we need to be happy with them. And anyway, so the godly soul, how that works, how he fights back against the animal soul. The animal soul fights back naturally. We don't need to actually work to create the war of the animal soul. We don't either want him there. We prefer him not to be there, but he's there. We want to know how to fight back. How do you fight back? He tells us a little bit. By contemplating on the greatness of Hashem, getting really into it, you arouse fear and love towards Hashem. Emphasis on the love. You arouse a high level of love towards Hashem, and that gives you the strength to overcome the Yetzer Hara. I don't want to do this; it's against the will of Hashem. I love Hashem, and that gives you the strength to overcome the Yetzer Hara, and it transforms the desires that you have into pleasure of Hashem. It becomes, instead of having material pleasures, you will have godly pleasures. So what happens is that when you overcome the Yetzer Hara, the godly soul that's in the emotions that are in the left chamber of the heart, they start entering into the right chamber of the heart. Every time you overcome, you're entering more into the right chamber, into the left chamber of the heart, and you're transforming those material desires that you have to love and pleasure of godliness, of Hashem, and davening and learning and doing godly things. And the animal soul is actually happy when we overcome it, because he was created. There's a mashal of someone who was sent to test the king, to test the prince. The king sent someone to test the prince, and so he's challenging the prince. He wants the prince to overcome him. He knows what he was sent to do, and he wants to be defeated. So too over here, the animal soul wants to be defeated. And I theorize there are many Jews today, we find that they live a material life and they feel this emptiness. And this emptiness brings them back to doing tshuva many times. Most people think this emptiness comes from the godly soul. But I theorize, based on this Tanya, maybe, in fact, this emptiness comes from the animal soul. The animal soul wants to be defeated. And time again, he wins. And he's like, this is pointless. You're supposed to be defeating me, and you're not. Where are you? And it arouses this emptiness inside of you that brings you back to doing tshuva. That's a theory that I have. I never saw that inside before. Could be true. I think it's a nice thought anyways. So, B'ezrat Hashem, with the guidance of the Tanya, we will defeat the animal soul. When we say that, we mean to transform. We don't want to get rid of him. We want to transform him and to use him to serve Hashem. And with that, Mashiach will come. Techef u'miyad mamash.